Prime. I'm sure that most of you who are tuning in or watching the recording by now do know these guys. You know, we had the chance to meet for a few brief conversations over the last few days. And the purpose of this conversation is actually to introduce you to Guy and Ilan and really dive deeper into their story and the way they've started and grown their coaching business, because for the first time in 15 years, they decided to start sharing about, you know, the specifics of how they've done that. And if you tuned into the previous calls, you will have realized that their way of doing things is very different from how most people operate in this space, where it's all about the bling bling and how many leads and funnel and the right, you know, platforms and all of those things. So what I suggested to Guy and Ilan was actually to get started in a bit of a different way, rather than diving straight into the questions. I would love for either of you, whoever, both together, however you want to do it, to do a little grounding exercise. And this is going to be for us and for you to really tune in, as it's definitely not a calm and relaxed time around the planet right now. Plus, I assume that you're here to learn about how to build your coaching business. You might have come here with expectations, maybe already put some pressure on yourself about the things you've done so far, about what you want to do. So I would love for Guy and Ilan to actually help us to disconnect from all of that expectation, so that we can have, you know, the real conversation and really get to the core of the reasons why you might not be getting what you want, or you might not even know what is it that you want. So do you guys want to start that way?
Yeah, I'm going to let Guy lead us. Just want to point something out as we spend time here together. There's a few ways that you can pay attention and listen today. There's going to be what's going to be coming out of our mouths, right? So you can listen to that. There's going to be transmissions that we're going to be emitting to you, so you can also feel and listen through the body and notice as certain things are happening. And then the other piece is so you're going to be paying attention to that, and also pay attention with your eyes as well. The way we're going to lead this, you can take cues, whether you're a coach, trainer, a healer, or something like that. These are things that you can experientially take on and actually give back to your clients. So some of the actions that we're going to be doing today, the way that we're going to be leading the call, the way that we're going to be answering questions, if you have them, and things like that, really just pay attention. It's all part of the training. So I just wanted to offer that. So even the way that Patricio asked us to start this call, this is a way that we start all of our group and one-on-one coaching calls as well. And it creates something called coherence, and allows us to connect not only to mind, which is where most people coach from, and that's okay. You can work with people here. The real deeper work happens when we're actually connecting at a much higher level, where we're able to work in fields together, and that's where real healing happens. So we're always really interested to create that holistic coherence, lock frequencies, systems lock, things like that. So just pay attention, as all the things that we're doing are things that you can learn from.
Beautiful.
Go ahead.
Okay, so go ahead. All right, so if you're on the call and you're watching this live, or you're going to watch the replay, it really truly doesn't matter. We're working with basically the orientation of awareness, and orientation of awareness transcends time and space. So if, like right now I just said, put your awareness on Jupiter, boom, you know, there is your awareness, and it's going to Jupiter, and again, transcends time and space. So just taking a moment to put your feet on the ground. If you're in a chair or if you're standing, it really doesn't matter. And just closing your eyes nice and gently. Softening those back of those eyes, loosening your jaw, and just take a deep breath. And certainly we're living in very uncertain times right now, certainly uncertain. So you may notice that when you take a deep breath, you feel some constraint, like maybe it's hard to get past your chest, or your chest is filling up and it feels a little strenuous. So I'm going to ask you to take a few more deep breaths, but this time relax your abdomen. I know we all like to hold it. A lot of the times it's from fear or looking good. So just letting all that go. No one can see you now. And then breathing again, but just breathe deeply down into the lower part of the belly. And take another deep breath and see if you can go even lower, as low as to the bottom of your feet or even lower than that. Just breathe in deep. And now real gently just unhooking from your mind. However you choose to do that, just unhooking. It doesn't mean the thoughts are going to stop necessarily, but just don't get involved. Unhook from the mind and find the space around your head, to the left and to the right of your ear, in front of your face and behind your head. Just find that space, kind of like a 360 space around your head. And then see if you can continue to let that space expand away from you. And if you find yourself putting in any effort to do this, let go of that effort, or let go of much of that effort as you can. And notice that awareness is a lot less about efforting and a lot more about orienting. So we're orienting to the space. And then just noticing how putting your awareness in the space alters your mood, your thoughts, your sensations in your body. And then from this space, if you can turn the awareness around, continue to hold the awareness of the space, and then bring also awareness to your heart. And the quick reminder that your heart is not a thing or an object that's two-dimensional. It's got insides and outsides, left and a right, a front and the back. There's an energetic heart, there's a divine heart, there's a multi-dimensional heart. So whatever you can connect with, whether it's the physical or the energetic, just allowing for that awareness to gently be placed on the heart, while simultaneously also being aware of the space. And then finally, just noticing that Patricio, myself, my brother, we're all here in service and support of you. And that there is a connection between us and all humans. But if you can just notice the connection that we're offering you here, and just place some awareness on that connection as well. And if there's anything you need to allow or permission in your system, like a further relaxation or maybe an expression, sound, and movement, again, no one can see you. You can feel free to just allow the body to explore whatever it needs to explore, to be here as fully present as you can be. Not just in mind, but also in body and energy. So taking one more deep breath, as low as you can go. And when you're ready, at your own pace, just gently blinking your eyes open. And just do a quick scan of, those just a few minutes of how you felt when we started that, how you feel right now. And just take note of any of those changes and shifts internally.
And see if, as we go through this, if you guys can just maintain this presence. When we talk about alignment and embodiment, we talk about this. This is where Guy and I create everything from. Everything. Everything in our business, every action we're going to take, it only gets created from here. And we'll talk a lot more about that. One thing that came through that I just want to highlight, Guy at some point during that asked for you to notice that we're here in support of you. And check in for yourself when we did that. How much support can you actually let in? The biggest lesson that I've been on, I'm sure Guy will agree to this, over the last 2 to 3 years has been a lesson of receiving support. As an entrepreneur, we all, if you're an entrepreneur, I guarantee you, you're an overachiever. And I guarantee you that you do everything on your own because you can do things better than anybody else. And every time you've relied on people, they let you down. And it's this like, why bother story. And so we all get into this loop of trying to build our business on our own. And I can tell you that it is the biggest mistake that you can make is believing that you need to do this on your own. It will take you so much longer. It will cost you so much more money, infinitely more time. You will end up with way more gray hairs, way more stress, and way more anxiety. And the truth of the matter is, support is there all around us all the time. You're always supported. But when we live in this story of all the stuff I mentioned, we're blind. Like support could literally be standing right here, for example, in the form of these 3 guys right here, and you wouldn't be able to see it or hear it. And that could be something interesting for you to take a look at. And all the things that we're going to be pointing today also to, it's like there's certain clients that you receive with ease. And that says something about where you're at in life. And there's certain clients that you cannot receive as much as you want to and as much as you visualize and pray and hope and create videos and blog posts, like you just don't receive them, right? And that's more of the energetic blocks that we're going to be talking about here than just like the physical taking action. So just wanted to lay that groundwork.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Patricio. I'll let you take it from there.
Thanks. Great start. Yeah, let's go with what you just said. So clients, I think ultimately, my experience has been that in theory, a coaching business is a very simple business. Like you help people.
Well said.
You find people that need your help. They pay you. You're done, right? However, what I've also experienced over the last couple of years, since when I went on my own in business, I really started to realize the difference between working with someone that you're aligned with compared to someone that you agreed to work with because you needed or wanted the money. And the vision that came to me a couple of weeks ago was a bit like if you were hosting a party at your house and you've invited a bunch of people that you didn't like. You could put on, the pretty face and, try to be nice, but they will sense that you don't like them. And therefore they might leave sooner. They're definitely not going to invite you to their parties. They're not going to invite their friends. Regardless of what you say, they're just going to sense that, you don't like them, that's fine. Now, if you replace people with money, that's the thing that I realized. Like, regardless of what you tell yourself, regardless of what you tell your clients, if when you receive money, you actually hate it, or you hate yourself, or you hate the work that you can already see you will have to do in order to satisfy the client, you're actually pushing more money away than the money you're receiving. So I'd love to just put that on the table and see, if you guys, I'm sure you guys experience something similar, but what's your take on it? How should the coach go about finding his ideal clients?
Bro, can I jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Some like a story just came through so loud and clear. So, let's just get a few things straight. Every one of you is on here because it's not because you want to build a coaching business. It's because there's something inside that you want to make a difference. And coaching is a way that you get to self-express that in the world. Like, you really want to help people. At your most essence core, you really want to help people. And that's a beautiful thing. And it can also be your biggest detriment. So I'm going to share with you a little story. So when Guy and I first started, and in the beginning, right, so we started a personal development journey in 2003. By 2005, we started coaching. We didn't actually get paid for coaching. I think till 2012 was probably our first actual paying client. So we did about 7-8 years of free coaching to thousands upon thousands of people. And when we started in this world, and just see if this resonates for you, it's like we wanted to save the world. Right?
Quite arrogantly.
We wanted to save the world. Now, you might be like, wow, that's amazing. We were, 2003, I was 21, Guy was 19. Like, we were really young. We're like, that's it. This is what we're going to do, right? We didn't realize till I'm talking like way over a decade later, as we started to bring in clients, that the clients that we were attracting needed what? Saving. And Patricio, to your point, it's like, I don't know about you, and I'm not saying like if that's your jam, right? Like, you're a coach and you really want to save those people, by all means, like, that's your calling. But we quickly realized that the energy behind, right, was like, save the world. So now, who do we call into our world? All the people that thought they were broken and needed fixing and needed saving. Now, at first, it was cool because it made us feel good, like we were saving one person at a time and really making a difference, blah, blah, blah. And I got to tell you, after a while, it became draining, because people that feel broken or people that need saving I don't know if I can describe it this way. It's like the sensation of like latching onto you and wanting to suck energy out of you.
They give their power away. They're looking for someone to handle things for them. So, eventually, like, there's only so much energy any of us have, and it's going to just take everything you got to maintain balance with this person, not even for this person. Yeah. So I'll let you get back to it, but like, it's so crucially important as a coach that you're empowering people. And if you see them putting you on a pedestal, or there's an appropriate time where people can forgo some of their beliefs to like look at you as an example. But as a leader and as a person who genuinely cares about people, one of the most important things is that you give people their power back, because ultimately it's like you're not doing the healing, and you're not doing the healing. You're a guide for people to introspect and find their own personal truths. If you are a speaker for truth and you want people to have your truth as the way to do life, then you're not coaching them, or you're not necessarily helping them. You're having them try to see the world in your way, and that may not be the way that really works for them or is in alignment with who they are.
Yeah. So, we found ourselves doing what we love and hating it at the same time. Maybe hate's a strong word, but it was like there was a fight internally where we wanted to do this in the world, but we couldn't figure out why these certain people kept coming. Now, where do most people look? At what?
Side, I guess.
Yeah, their website. So it's like, oh, let me look at the marketing message. Let me look at the way that I position ads. Who are we targeting? Like, you do all the things that all these people tell you. And guess who keeps showing up to your doorstep? You try this message, you try that, you try from here, you try from there. But the same people keep showing up. It's like when you're in relationships, you know, the common denominator is always you. And that's when I'm telling you, like, the big thing for coaches is if you're not working with a coach and you're not doing your introspective work, you will only be this effective as a coach. The best coaches coach from where? Not from books that they've read or videos that they've watched. They coach from experience. Now, when I share this story with you, it took us a while to get down to that little nugget of like, holy crap, that's why all these people keep showing up, because underlying everything is we have this story, like we have to save the world. Now, when we let go of that story, right? Because first there was awareness, then there's a process to let go. All of a sudden, all these things just started to open, and the clients that showed up were so different. They were high level, high achievers who wanted higher performance, who wanted to dig deeper than they were able to do on their own, but they never thought of themselves as broken or needing saving. And that completely revolutionized our business. When you start looking within for the answers, instead of looking out and trying to move this puzzle piece and that puzzle piece, is when everything starts to shift in really fast and effortless ways. So yeah, to your story, Patricia, like, we just realized, we looked around, you know, the party, and we're like, we don't really want to be with these people right now.
Yeah.
And it was a big aha for us in our business.
Yeah, 100%. And so obviously I've known you for about 5 years, so I've seen your journey from the outside. I'd love to dive a bit deeper into what it looked like for you, you know, so, you know, keeping it within like 12 hours, I guess. but yeah, I mean, how did it start? Like, I remember one thing I think Guy said 3-4 years ago. You said something around the lines of, I realized that thinking about doing more work was just not going to be an option. Like, you had gotten to this point where doing more was not even an option. You were already performing at your best.
Yeah.
So I think a big shift happened for you there. What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of little things. It's always like that. I remember when we did our last live event, which was, hard to believe now, November of 2016. And for anybody who's ever done a live event, this was like, you know, 70, 80 people in a like a hotel banquet hall and whatnot. And always leading up to event, like a week before, you're like a crazy person. You don't sleep, and you know, so it's like, it's funny because when you show up on stage, you're usually out of gas. You're like exhausted from all the work you've put in and the team and whatnot. And I remember I got on stage, and this has happened at all our live events for the most part, but now I would treat it so differently. So I want to kind of give the contrast. What I remember getting tired, like really tired on the stage. And at that point in time, Elon and I were heavy into nootropics, you know, like performance, I don't want to call it substances because that makes it sound like we were doing drugs, but they're, you know, chemical compounds that basically help improve brain function, and, you know, coffee and all these things. It's like, so you would start your day and be tired, and it's like, okay, well, let me get the coffee, let me get the nootropics. I got to ramp myself up. And I remember getting on that stage and just being tired, and we had a great event and I got through it. But my thought was, okay, cool. It took me 10 months this year, because I remember it was January to November. It took me 10 months this year to just feel completely depleted, out of gas. And my next thought was, I made it 10 months this year. That's good. I'm like, I bet you next year I make it 12 months. Like, you know, because I couldn't wait to get my energy back so I can just like stomp on the floor and just like get it going again. And I remember it was like March of 2017 and my energy still wasn't back. I was like that depleted from what we had done that year. And I was like, this can't be healthy. And the you know, now, so we've been on a really different journey for 3 years than what we started, or even 4 years now from what we started, because we were really heavy into like mindset work and personal development and NLP type stuff. And I've sat in meditations for long periods of time, like 10-day, silent meditations. And I've had a lot of plant medicine work during that period. So I've had a lot of other experiences, but we didn't know how to like set a foundation to how to actually like be with the system. And this is a lot of what we do with our personal clients today. We do the mindset stuff because that's important for you to understand how this works, mostly so you can get it out of the way. But the really deep work is like the energetic stuff in the body. Like we did a really light pointing to during that grounding exercise, but we can do like really deep stuff in people's systems. We can kind of like track the energetics of it. So to kind of get back to the point of the story here is that when we started inquiring and getting our awareness into the body was when I realized what my programs were that were driving me so hard to continue to put in more and more effort, even when my body was like, please stop, I have no more left in the tank. And I was like, shut up, here's another thing, like keep going, right? And working really hard. And when I started really backlogging all the years of work that we had done, because we've been in business now for about 9 years, a little bit more. And I thought about all the times where things were going really, really well and all the times that they really weren't. And I asked myself, could I make a correlation between more work and more business? And the honest truth was I could not correlate the two. I couldn't find a time where we worked harder and more happened in our business. What I could find was times where I felt good, like I felt good personally, felt in alignment, felt like super optimistic and like momentum, like all those things that you feel when you're like in a flow state and things are just working out and there's all this synchronicity around you. And those were the times where the business was flying. So I think I mentioned this on the call yesterday with you, but I think it's worth reiterating. We had gotten our business in the affiliate side to multiple 7 figures, right? So we were putting in, I would say like on a low month was like $40,000 in marketing. On a high month was about $100,000 in marketing, right? That, like at the peak of our affiliate company. And I remember there would be months doing the exact same thing, running the exact same funnel, using the exact same messaging, using the exact same interest, all the things that everyone's trying to teach you how to do. And we would barely scratch or make a profit. Like 100,000 would go out and 102,000 would come back in. So it's like, everyone's like, oh, I made $102,000 this month. It's like, you didn't though. And when you look at people, and when you look at people in the online affiliate space, that's how people present their businesses. They're like, look at all this money I'm making. They're not showing you that 99% of that was their marketing budget and they made $1,000 this month, right? So I'm telling you the honest truth of what it looks like from the other side. And then, so it's like, you're not even making money, but it looks really good to everybody else, right? Yeah. And then there would be months where we would put in, $40,000 and we would make 14 times percent our return, just like insane $250,000, whatever that month. And I could tell you that when people used to ask us, how did you do that? I would say the only difference between this month and that month was my attitude. Like how I felt about the business. Was I in scarcity? Was I in fear when we were spending that money? And if I was in scarcity and fear when that investment was being made, that investment created more scarcity and fear in my life, because when only $2,000 comes back from that, trust me, scarcity and fear, it like explodes. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And when you have this groundedness in your system, you could put $40,000 in and you just watch as this thing explodes. And the only difference was how you were when that investment was made, like where you were energetically and the investment was made. So, tracking all those things, it became really clear that the number one thing that I want to maintain or expand or grow into is my well-being, how I keep my system grounded. And not like a positive mindset that's like, oh, I got to keep myself positive. It's like, no, there are aspects in your body. Like right now, it's really obvious given the global circumstances about fear and anxiety, overwhelm, the what ifs, right? Like all these things that we're all like managing and dealing with right now. Every time you have one of those things, there's a sensation correlated in the body that's causing a constriction or something in the body. And if your mind is like, oh, I can't pay attention to that right now, I got to build a business, then you're using that energy to create something in your business, because you're not working that energy out of your system. So today, our philosophy has become is the action that you take truly does not matter. What really matters is the quality of the energy that creates the action. And this is why so many people are running on the hamster wheel, 97% failure rate, probably more, right? With people that are in a coaching business, but it's not making them any money, or it's not really serving the way that they wish that it was, is because they're in scarcity, in fear, in anxiety, in overwhelm, and they're using that energy in the mind to try to calculate how to get out of that by changing their circumstances so they can feel different. But they're using that energy, and it's just creating more of that energy. So if whether we believe that you should have a mentor, somebody you're working with that can give you reflection at least once a week. If you're not in a position, whether financially or time availability to do that, at minimum, you should have, or you could have, like, you shouldn't have to do anything. You could have a daily practice that allows for you to get into the most optimized state in mind, body, and soul that you can get. And before you sit down and write an ad or write your copy or talk to a client, if you are not in well-being, then chances are that conversation, that ad, or whatever it is that you're doing is not going to go very, very well, and is going to create this loop of disappointment in your system. And I'm telling you, we're still working on these things every single day. And I'll just say this last piece. For me, it's super ironic. Like, I've had more things happen these last 2 weeks since I know Patricio's a little ahead of us because he's in Italy, in like the center of the crisis over there. And then, he's riding the crazy train over there. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then like we're over here probably like 2-3 weeks behind. So we're like just watching that bubble start to form. And I've had more magical things happen in my life in the last 10 to 14 days than like almost at any other time in my life that I can remember. And it's so crazy because I talk to other people who are really freaking out, and I'm like, it's so funny because, and I've gone through my freakouts. I'm not saying I'm not human and I haven't gone through my experiences with it. But like right now, because I have all this extra time, I'm feeling incredibly grounded, unbelievably optimistic. And I'm not telling you that our business is not taking a hit or needs to be shifted and changed in what it's been doing, because again, like there's so many shifts and changes happening in the world and how people are psychologically and emotionally responding to the situation. But like, I'm looking at myself going, how do I feel the best that I have felt in 2 years, literally, while this shitstorm is hitting? And the ability to be the type of person who holds this kind of space that when people interact with you, they're like, that's different. That's what makes people pay attention. That's charisma, that's magnetism. And you can't teach that in a book or in a seminar. But when you work your system the way that we intend for you guys to do, and you get this groundedness, centeredness, alignment, and it becomes the ground, the cornerstone from which you develop yourself, develop your business, develop your relationships. Even if you want to go take those seminars and do all those things, to do it from that ground, everything becomes exponential. And that's really what we're bringing through right now.
Yeah, I just, you reminded me of that line that we share all the time. It's like, life is not happening to you. It's happening for you and said another way, through you. What Guy's alluding to is, right, it's like right now, everything that's showing up in your life is showing up in your life or not showing up in your life because you're vibrating at a certain frequency. You're transmitting, and the world is literally showing itself in alignment with that frequency. And you say, I don't want that, I want that. Well, it doesn't matter. Because what that does is actually grounds you more in that frequency. So if you go, I don't want what I have, I want this other thing, you're just grounding yourself more and more here. What we're talking about is like, you can actually jump to another plane, like another dimension where the things that you want are actually there. So you're not looking at this like linear thing of like, okay, well, if I do enough of this and I do more of that and less of this, and you do these equations, you get here. You could try that. You probably have, though, for a long time. And like, if that works for you, cool, just keep doing that. If it's not working, then it really is just starting to realize like, oh, I'm just not vibrating at the frequency that allows me to jump to this plane where all this stuff is handled, and get really curious on how to do that. It's a much, much shorter jump from, you remember like Chutes and Ladders? It's like that. It's like a much shorter jump than doing the entire, journey.
Got it. One thing you mentioned, Guy, is obviously you said right now your business is taking a hit, it's evolving, you need to adapt, etc.
Yeah.
One question that popped into my mind is that given that probably that's something that a lot of coaches are experiencing right now.
Sure.
Myself, you know, I had a few conversations, and often conversations with potential clients, and there's I love to, but right now, you know, it's a crisis. You know, let this thing pass, and then we'll do something about it. So my question is actually, why do you think that right now is actually a good time, if not a better time, or the best time to actually focus on your coaching business rather than, I don't know, just wait for this thing to pass, maybe, you know, get money from the government, whatever it is, look for a job. Not sure where you'll find it right now, but, you know, just go back to the traditional kind of safety rather than jumping into this thing.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think there's often, I was going to say always, but often pain in the short term. That we experience a lot more pain in the short term. When we can't see beyond tomorrow, there's a lot of pain. So, but I like to project long term. So I think to myself, like right now, there's a collective energy, right? It's very easy to tune into right now, because it's like you just tune into like panic, fear, right? And it's like so easy to just get sucked into that. And then you can start feeling that panic. And then how do you start managing that panic? You're like, oh, let me go look at some news articles. If I know what's going on in the world, I can protect myself better. Okay, how does this virus affect people? Oh, it's a respiratory thing. Okay, so what happens with respiratory, right? And you go to, and you can just feel like all this crazy fucking energy. And it's the mind just trying to create safety. It's desperately trying to do this. So now, I'm exuding that energy for a reason, because I want you to feel what it's like when I'm start like getting into the panic, and then I'll drop back down into my system and start creating ground. And if you can just like kind of whatever way you think you track, there's like a lack of density. There's room to breathe again. So right now is a really good time to stand out. Because there's a herd mentality like we have never seen before. We've seen cultural herd mentalities. We've seen herd mentalities in cities. We've seen mentalities around leaders, you know, or political leaders or spiritual leaders, but we've never seen a world dealing climactically with one thing. So I can tell you, like, I'm writing pieces of content about my vision for the future right now. Like what the hope I have of the investment that we're making as in humanity and the sacrifice that we're making for our lives in order to build something so much bigger. And those pieces of content are the most viral pieces of content that I've ever written in 9 or 10 years online, period. So if that doesn't tell you what people are leaning into or attracted to or want to hear right now, so I understand everyone's thinking short terms in terms of finances. I want to give you some comfort is that everyone's dealing with the same fucking problem right now. Nobody knows. Your neighbor doesn't know. Your boss doesn't know. Nobody knows. Government officials don't know. They're just doing things because they need to look like they're doing things to make us all feel safer. They don't know. So if you think to yourself, like, again, I'm going to hold this other energy. I'm going to be part of a conversation that creates possibility in the world. Whether it's now or in the future, and I think there will be both now and in the future, I want you to think of it like farming. You plant the seeds, right, in the fall, but the seeds don't grow until the spring. They hibernate in the winter, they get wet, it takes them a while to grow, and then there's all this beauty. So it's like the real question is like, what are you investing in now to create something? Because this is going to pass. And not necessarily like it's going to pass, like this will be resolved, but what will pass is the initial surge of fear that people are experiencing also. Chances are we're going to be home for a minimum of 4 months in the States. I imagine probably longer, right? There's only so much bullshit and so much fear and energy that people can sit in. So right now there's this natural contraction that's happening, right? Like, I got to hold on to my things. I got to hold on to my family. I got to hold on to my money because it creates this illusion of safety if I just hold on to things. But that will relax. And the other thing I want to provide is like that people's priorities are gonna like flip. There's gonna be a massive priority switch in terms of how people think about life, because when buying a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW and walking outside with your Gucci's or I don't even know what's popular today, Supreme, whatever, right? When that stops being important and that aspect of humanity, that looking good, going out in public is not really part of your daily lives, something's like, where are you getting value from? Like where are you gonna put your money to extract value from the world? And what I think people are going to want because of so much fear and instability, they're going to want stability. They're going to want well-being. They're going to want connection. They're going to want love. They're going to want safety. And I want you to imagine that right now, you're the person who's going to give you the procurement of that. You're going to be the center of allowing them, people come around you, they start getting a sense of those things. And to me, that's where people are going to want to put their money into, because the stock market's too volatile. Like, where are you going to put your money? Right? So there's going to be this whole segment of people who are like, I want to know a different way to live. Even when this thing is over, I don't want to go back to that anymore. I'm washing my hands of that. Who am I going to become? Or who am I becoming now and investing into later? So for me, it's like, again, it's about your energy. It's about your energy. If you're like, fuck, this has got to end before I can get a client, that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I'm going to be an example of a new type of human that can stand inside the chaos and be an example for my family, for my friends, for the world, and whoever the fuck wants to listen to a different type of message, I'm going to put that out there. Now, here's the last piece of this. If you're going to do that, like it's a formula, because you're trying to achieve getting clients, that's not going to work. Yeah. If you're not doing your own work to ground yourself and get into alignment, and you're like, well, I'm in scarcity, guy told me to look this way and say those things. That's not what I'm saying. Don't do that shit. People will sniff it out, and they will feel the out of alignment and the out of integrity about what you're sharing. Don't just make it sound positive when you're still freaking out inside. But when you have enough courage to go inside and fully express into yourself the fear that's going on, so that you can liberate that energy and start feeling safety in your system again, and then generate your work from there, I promise you, you're going to have people being like, whoa, what is going on over here? And they're going to pay attention, right? So I think that is what we get to focus on right now, because the reality is nobody knows how long this is going to take. And if you're like, okay, cool, I just got to hang on for 4 months and then all these people are going to sign up with me, don't hang on. Don't hang on. And if there's something in your business that you feel that needs to shift, then shift it. But again, do it from that alignment and that intuition. Don't do it because scarcity is saying, oh my God, nobody's signing up for my programs, I need to change everything. Yeah. Like, really take your time and feel into what's going to serve you. What's going to serve them, and how that partnership is going to both serve you and them at the same time.
I find that people in times of fear either use that opportunity to expand or contract. And the majority of humans go into contraction mode, right? But like, if you go into hibernation contraction mode, that's the frequency that you're now aligning to. And that's what you're going to see more and more and more of as evidence in your life. So look, for us, I'm using this opportunity because I think we both are, because there's a beauty in what's been showing itself, right? Like, it's so easy to see your patterns and your limiting thoughts and your protective mechanisms. Like, they're just here everywhere you turn. You're like, oh my God, I can't get away from myself. So it's an incredible opportunity to do this work. And if you see it and you go, oh, I don't have time, or like, oh, I don't have money, and you like do that contraction thing, how can you possibly expect others in your life to show up differently than you're showing up in your life? We're always getting the perfect reflection. So if that's what's showing up in your life, the first thing you get to go is like, how am I showing up that way? Otherwise, you're just going to keep creating more and more of that. So it's like, for me now, okay, things are slower. Look, I don't care what your situation is, financially, uncertainty, all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't care if it's you investing $50 a month, or if you can, $5,000 a month, but like, continuing that process where you're saying, you know what, like, regardless of what's happening, I know and trust that I will always be taken care of, and I'm going to continue to invest in myself. Now, maybe you have to scale down what that looks like, and that's okay. But don't go into that fear mode and just back up and then expect that 3 months from now, you're going to come out of hibernation and be like, all right, I'm ready, everybody. No, because have you really done your work? No, you just went into the same panic and freak out mode that everyone else did. And now just because you like come out there and stick your flag out and go like, okay, I'm out of hiding, like, come talk to me, that people are going to do that? No. Who are they going to talk to? They're going to talk to the people who came out the other side of it, having done their inner work. That's who they're going to seek. They're not going to seek someone who's in the same hole as them for the last 3-4 months. They're going to seek the person that used this opportunity to climb that mountain and is like looking down and going like, come, I'll help you. So you, like, every one of us always has a choice, moment by moment by moment by moment. Now it's Corona. There's going to be something else. There was something else before. Like, there's always something. And then you just get to choose how you want to participate in that.
Yeah, and in a way, what I'm finding is that there's never been a better time to let go of the pressure of having to make money.
Yeah.
Because although it's obviously an excuse, given the conversations we're having, but even if for the next few months you actually can tell your husband, wife, father, sister, friends, I'm not making money right now. I'm figuring other stuff out. And given that a lot of them will also be in the same situation, they're not going to react like they would usually do, which, with the stigma of laziness or what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
It's going to be like, well, I've got no clue, so let Patrizio, Ilan, whoever do his thing.
Totally. And I just want to point out one thing. I don't know if like other countries, but I'm letting you know, like right now, mortgages are doing forgiveness, like where you don't have to pay mortgages for the next, in New York, it's at least 3 months. College, like if you have debt with schools, are doing forgiveness. There's a talk of like getting rid of $30,000 of people's debt for school. Credit cards are waiving fees. Like, everyone's going into that mode, right? So it's like, can you use this as an opportunity to springboard yourself somewhere, right? Like, think about the stock market. When do you want to buy? Now. Now you want to buy. When the world has fallen to shit, now you want to invest. So like, the people that are going to make money at the end of this are buying now. But how scary is it? Think about, like I said, buy now. Think about how much fear is in your system about investing right now in something that is so uncertain and is just like going like this every single day, and just notice what's there. But the ones that win at the end can notice that fear, be with that fear, hold that, put that on the side for just a second, drop deep into that place, that well of knowledge, that internal guidance system, and choose for themselves, like, if money wasn't a thing, if time wasn't a thing, like, is this in my highest alignment? And if the answer is yes, they just trust that and they take a step and action in that direction, know that the rest of it will figure itself out.
100%. Another thing I like to add, I like to latch on to a word you used, Ilan, beauty. Maybe it must have been a coincidence, met with a numerologist today from Australia. Very, very interesting conversation we had. And he pointed out the number 20 in his numerology, and of course there's different schools.
Yeah.
Actually, it's connected to the word beauty. So what he offered to me is that this century, so 2020 all the way to 2099, is the century of beauty. And I like to add that into the conversation because I think in the online marketing world, that somehow has gotten lost in the digitalization of business that we are seeing. So especially some coaches and mentors I've even learned from, and I think lesson was valuable to a certain extent, were very minimalistic. They really, their message was do as little as possible and try to make it as efficient as possible. Right? So you see all these funnels that are basically plain white and they just don't convey much to. And I think that could also be a thing, like try to discover the beauty in what you do, right? Try to bring it into your coaching business. Maybe it's the colors you use. Maybe it's, I have a friend that started to do tarot, and, could be a thing for someone, might not be a thing for someone else. You need to find what makes sense to you. But I think this is a great time to actually offer people something beautiful, right? On all levels, not just visual, but everything you do. Maybe take more time to craft your video and make it appealing. And yes, maybe 3 people will see it, but those 3 people will be like, wow, that moved me. It wasn't just, another piece of content I saw today. So it was very interesting.
Yeah. There's a piece to that also where it's like I've noticed with a lot of coaches, there's the trust piece.
Mm.
And when we don't internally trust what we're saying, what we're doing, how we're putting ourselves out there, then we fall into the trap of looking at everything else and going, okay, I'm going to mimic that or I'm going to look like that. But then you just become a clone of somebody. And what was maybe authentic to the way that they presented is completely inauthentic and out of alignment for the way that you present. And then you wonder why you don't get results. I find, and this is just my interpretation of beauty. I know beauty is like, eyes of the beholder and all that stuff, but like sexy beauty to me is when someone is doing their own thing. They're so aligned and embodied with like what it is that you're just like, damn, that's amazing. What's that new singer's name? Glover's son. What's his name?
He's not. He's actually not his son, but it's Danny Glover.
Danny Glover, right? So it's like,
Or something Glover, yeah.
yeah, I don't remember.
No idea. Sorry.
But what's the, is that like the singing name or he's got some other?
He does have another name. Jesus. It's actually like an Italian kind of spin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Gambino or something like that, right?
Say it again?
Gambino, something like that.
Yeah. Child Gambino.
Child Gambino, thank you.
Child Gambino. So like if you look this guy up, his videos are amazing, like super artsy, super amazing. And he's no joke. He's wearing pants that like come really low. He's wearing no shirt and he's not fit at all. Like he's got like a Buddha belly and he's just dancing, having a great time and all this stuff. And you watch the video, you're like, man, this guy is sexy AF. Like it's just amazing. Why? Because he owns it. He owns it. Like there's this like light that he just has inside of him, just comes oozing out. It doesn't matter what form or shape, or I don't even like the music, but I can appreciate and love what he's putting out there, right? So if you're sitting back and going like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? That's a good pointer to be like, wow, I don't really trust myself right now in what I'm doing. And that's something that we all do. Should I order this? Should I order that? Should I put on this shirt or should I put on that shirt? Like that points to a lack of trust. That would be a great area for you to work on to start moving the needle of your business.
Yeah. And I think again, like I really like want to harp on this, like being patient. If there's like two things I really, and again, it's in the videos from yesterday, but always worth sharing again. If a client came to me and they're like, what's the number one thing to develop? Like, what are the things that are most important to develop? Patience and grace. That's it. You can master those two things. I promise you, anything you want is possible in your life. Because things take time to cultivate. They just do. I have a 17-month-old baby at home. I refuse to call him 1.5 years old because that feels too old at this point in time. So I'm still stuck at months. You're still a little boy.
How far can you go with the mums? I think 56 months old son.
Yeah, at least the first 2 to 3 decades. Yeah, I'm gonna be like, he's 246 months today. But so anybody who has a child, you see like the repetition that's involved in developing habits. And the irony about children is they come out with the personality and the identity. These are things that freak you out. You're like, wow, like all of that is just cooked in. It's like the soul, whatever you believe about all that, like brings through certain aspects of the system, and you're just kind of like guiding the rest of it. So, but when we become adults, we have this feeling like we're supposed to be good at everything right away. And there's a story behind it, like, oh, see, I'm not good at this. Or, oh, this is why I'm not lovable, or I'm too stupid, or, whatever it might be. And then we don't put in the reps because the story, it doesn't fit the story. It's like, oh, working hard doesn't fit this story, or putting an effort to growing myself doesn't fit the story. Being patient doesn't fit the story. Those people who are making a lot of money and are super talented, they're just talented, right? Like that's just how it is. I promise you, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they were where they were. Certainly they had physical attributes that allowed for the expression of that. However, they developed those physical attributes. They were tall, but there's lots of tall people. And those tall people can't necessarily run fast or jump high or have accuracy. Like those were the hardest working people in the sport. Like Kobe Bryant passed right before all this happened. That was was kind of like a global event too. And it's like, what does everybody say about him, about what his work ethic was like, you know, how he operated day in and day out, his mentality, his emotional state, his alignment to what he was about. And what was sad about that was that he was aligning to something else and applying that level to something that seemed like it was going to affect the world, right? I think that's what hit me really hard about that situation. So you want to develop patience, especially right now. Like Patricio said, there's like judgment be gone. If you're sitting at home right now and they're making a penny, who's going to judge you?
Yeah.
Who? But however, if you take this time and you're like, what am I going to cultivate during this time? Even if it's cultivating how I want to message myself to the world, or cultivate getting on camera and getting comfortable and really sharing and expressing yourself from an authentic place, or cultivating asking for support, or cultivating asking people if they want to join your offer or join your company or whatever it is that you're doing. Because usually you're like, you try to sneak it into the conversation and you don't know how to quite work it because you're not standing in the ground that what you have is fucking amazing and changes people's lives. You know, I remember, you know, for those of you guys on Landmark Education, that's where Elon and I spent our tenure of 10 to 12 years. That's why we say we coach thousands of people before we ever ask for money, because we volunteered an incredible amount of time to that organization, right? And we truly never asked for anything in return, but the reality is that it allowed for us to go cultivate in a conversation. And I know that, like, we've enrolled hundreds of people into those programs, right? Hundreds, who even knows, maybe over 1,000 between Elon and myself. A lot of people. You know, when it was just like clicked for me, and I could just enroll people in that program, is when I could put my personal reputation on the line for that person's experience. Meaning that I'm like, hey, you can go over there. It's going to be outstanding. I guarantee this will completely change your life. And Elon and I used to do this all the time. We would say, if you go to this program and it does not radically change your life, come back to us. We'll refund your money. We have, by the way, the same refund with our 100-day masterclass and other programs that we do. Do you know how many people have come back and asked for a refund? Big fat goose egg. And here's the reason for that is we trust the process so much that we know the outcomes people get are so amazing that our personal reputation is always on the line for the amount of service that we have. And trust me, if somebody's like, this did not serve me, Elon and I'd be like, here you go. We're really, really sorry this experience did not meet or exceed your expectations. Yep. So when you can speak from that place, then that's incredible. And that's why the coaching industry has exploded. And that's amazing because there's a lot of people that want to help people. But like everything else, when it explodes very rapidly, it also creates this feeling like that you can go to like a weekend seminar, learn a few NLP tricks, and then like you're this, you know, coach that's going to change people's lives. And then you're not cultivating yourself. And cultivation really is a day in and day out practice, just like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or any of these people that are amazing at sports or art or anything else. It's a daily cultivation. So if you do that, I promise you, your future is already written. And it's not like if it's going to happen, it's just a matter of when it's going to happen. And you got to understand that business is just like life. It changes all the time. There are high highs and there are low lows, and how you show up when those things are happening and cultivating yourself as those things are happening. Like right now is like this, I don't know if it's a low point is the accurate thing, but it's definitely a strange time to be a human. You know, I look at my son and I'm like, all of us, we're 8 in the house right now. There's 8 of us in the house. I'm like, all of us have been around for a while. No pandemics. I'm like, and you showed up and you came for the pandemic. I'm like, that's an interesting thing to come here to watch. But you know, that's the thing. It's like that cultivation is going to pay off. And if you're like, I'm just in here because I want to, in 60 days, I want to get out of my job and I want to do this and I want to do that. And it's like, trust me, this ride is so beautiful. Helping people is so beautiful. How you get to experience yourself while you're helping people, so beautiful. And that patience to allow for that to unfold as it needs to and challenge you and put pressure on you and cause stress and anxiety and overwhelm in your life the way that it needs to assist in your growth process so that you can find new places of resource for yourself and then bring that through and guide and teach other people how to find that within themselves. That is the process. That is what makes a great business. That is what makes you a great coach. And that is what is going to have people coming back to you over and over and over again to find out what you're doing next. So it is not about the theory. It is not about the formula. Because if it is, then eventually you're going to run out of people who give a shit about that formula. Elon and I Patricio continuously puts in work on himself to continue to educate and transform himself. And that's why it keeps it interesting, because there's always something new to bring through for people. And a whole other tier of people who want that frequency of education. So I don't remember where that fucking started, but that's where I ended.
Yeah, no, and I think you ended at the perfect place, because I think it's a great time to shift the conversation to what you guys are coming up with. And before we do that, for anyone who's watching live, a lot of you will be watching a recording. Please feel free to ask a question. I don't know how much time you guys have, but I'm sure you can either answer right now, or they're going to be answering in the comments. And yeah. Hopefully you now have very good sense of what Guy and Lan are about. And they're doing something special, I believe, next weekend. Is that correct? 4th and 5th of
yes.
April?
Not this upcoming weekend, the weekend after that, April 4th and 5th.
Exactly. So it's a 2 days intensive coaching seminar, for coaches, to keep on expanding on these things we've been talking about. So do you guys want to sort of give a introduction to this so that people get a bit of context? And I'll just drop the link for anyone who's interested. You just need to submit your information, and I believe they'll be in touch. Yeah. And so do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, and if, by the way, when we wrap this up, if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Patricia would be okay with them just reaching out to us personally.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So just feel free and reach out to either Guy or myself. Find us on Facebook, or you can even email us, Elon at Satori Prime or Guy at Satori Prime, with any questions. So the intention is very, very simple. We want to spend a weekend with you. The total time, we're going to spend it over 2 days, probably around 4 hours each day. And based on the group that we get, we really want to tailor the program to the people in there. So you're going to fill out a questionnaire. You're going to let us know where you're at with your business, where you want to head in your business, and what are the things that have been stopping you from creating that result. Keep in mind, we've been doing this for a long, long time. So we're not giving you the formula. Honestly, if you're coming to get a formula, I think you've kind of missed the point of what we've said here. We want to empower you and give you the deepest level of confidence to know how to handle those introductory calls with people, how to create content from alignment, how to provide such incredible value for the people that you get on calls or healing sessions with, that they were fawning over themselves and fawning over you and falling over themselves to sign up and work with you. That doesn't come from, all right, fill out this sentence about yourself and visualize these 12 things. And then it doesn't work like that. The more in tune you are, the more layers you remove, the more you be you, the more people want to be around you, the more they will pay to be around you. There's a great line. People pay to pay attention. The people that pay us $19 a month to be in our collective are very different than the people that pay us $5,000 a month to be in our coaching programs. And that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's just that one is that much committed versus the other one is that much committed, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to try this versus oh no, I'm all in on myself. So here's the very, very, very simple offer. This is going to be a small group of you guys. It's $750 for the 2-day seminar. And for the first 10 people that register, you actually get a bonus of a one-on-one hour-long healing session with Guy and I. This is where we're going to go work on you and your life. And this is something that you can then pattern and build off of to learn some of the tools and skills that we use so that you can go make yourself way more valuable to the people that you get on the phone with or have in your rooms or whatever that might be. Just so you know, right now for an hour of our time is $2,000. So even if you book this just for the $750 to get on the one-on-one, you still have the deal of a lifetime. And you'll spend an entire weekend with us delving deep. We'll do a lot of one-on-one coaching with you guys in the group as well, answering questions, working on your specific business, and answering everything you want. Guy and I have nothing to hide. If there are things that you've watched in our system, how we design things, how we build things, how we think about things, this is going to be like a full open format where you can ask us anything you want. And yeah, bro, is there anything else that you wanted to add to the mix?
No. So yeah, just to add a little bit to that back end. Yeah, if you guys, do want to learn about systems, about how it is that we automate certain things, could certainly do all that to you and then like open that up for you guys and show you the framework. That's not a big deal. I don't think that's the best investment of our time. And certainly there are a lot of other avenues you can take to kind of find that stuff out, but we're happy to share tools, resources, again, like how we think about things and even look at some of the things that you're doing. Ultimately, you guys have heard us talk a lot about the alignment and the grounding here. It's really working those parts and starting to show you like a much deeper, I mean, this is like cutting edge, ancient, energetic.
Oh, we lost him.
I think the other 7 people in the house might be using some Wi-Fi. Getting back, yeah. Ancient energetics. That's where
I've been trying to desperately fix that problem, but it's not alleviating itself. Yeah. So I mean, like, bottom line is, guys, we're here to serve, right? We want to show you the best of what we got in terms of where we are in our development and what we do with our personal clients, all the way down to just helping you figure out how to position yourself, how to price certain things, how to think about the marketplace right now, how to message yourself. Like, it's really like an open playbook. So we're going to bring a lot to the table, but overall, this will probably be like a pretty intimate setting, right? With a bunch of us together, and we're going to be able to really like get into the thick of things. So our intention is that in 2 days, you're feeling way more confident about your business. You're feeling like you can really go out there and speak from your truth. And attracting clients becomes a thing that no longer is a scary thing, or you have to hope or wish, but for a fact that like this is a thing that puts a flag up in the air and has people come running at you, ready to work with you in whatever capacity you want.
Yeah, well, what I'd like to add to this, for anyone who's been in my group for a while and is watching this, my intention for what we've done today is not necessarily to get you to flock to Guy Nilan's program. If that's in alignment with what you want to do, by all means, I'm very happy. I was able to facilitate the process. My intention for this was to introduce you to Guy Nilan. So right now there's a link in the comments. It's got my name on it. It's pretty easy to remember. And if you feel like you want to book your spot, there's a special offer for the first people, 10 people that sign up. That's great. If not, this thing is actually a couple of weeks away. So my invitation would be, feel free to get to know Guy Nilan even better over the next few days, if that's what you want to do, because totally understand that within an hour, we only got to really talk about a fraction of what Guy Nilan are about. So, that's SatoriPrime.com. That's the group, Personal Development Without the Fluff, their Facebook page. They have a podcast. After Gary Vaynerchuk, I think these guys are,
Did we just get bulked in with Gary V?
Well, in terms of how many places I can find you, like there's emails.
We're not on Snapchat.
You're not on Snapchat.
And we're not on TikTok. So.
Oh, no. Yeah. So.
That's only because Elon refuses to do 10-second dances.
I can't.
He likes to do at least a minute and a half.
Yeah. So, and get involved in the conversation. And I think what I really liked about this idea that they brought to the table of the 2 days intensive is that it's so different from what's being offered right now pretty much across the board, because once again, everyone is copying everyone. So one guy said you need to do the group coaching thing, online course, give 15 minutes of your time, and don't do more than that, otherwise you can't scale. And everyone is doing that right now. And one thing I heard recently is that we've become so much better at selling than helping. Right? So what I loved about what these guys are doing in a couple of weeks is that it's completely different. It's going to be a group, and they're going to be working with you, and knowing them, I know they will dedicate all the time you'll need to, do whatever it is that you need to do. For some people it's this much, for some of you it's this much, right? And, I can guarantee, having worked with these guys for over 5 years, that, they will dedicate to the time and attention needed.
No doubt. Definitely here to
Absolute
serve.
pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. So once again, anyone watching a recording, anyone joining late, feel free to drop your questions. Feel free to write me, Guy, Ilan. Feel free to consume these guys' content. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you for your time, guys. It's been a pleasure. And stay safe.
Thanks, Patricio. Thanks,
brother.
everybody.
Have a good one. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.